Let's go. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you are. It's good to be back with you. I hope you are doing well. You can listen to and watch me on Rumble and YouTube, and you can follow me on X. Please like, share, and subscribe because it does feed the AI algorithm. And lastly, please post your comments and questions below. It would be wonderful to hear from you. It's great to be back with you for this new episode. And as usual, let's jump right into it. This article from NBC News. The AI industry is title of the article is the AI industry is pushing a nuclear power revival, partly to fuel itself. Uh, Subtitle: A nuclear startup backed by OpenAI chief Sam Altman wants to power data centers and homes alike. It's racing against surging demand while working to satisfy regulators. And if you don't know, maybe you are familiar. Uh, Nuclear power is um, highly, greatly, whatever adverb you'd like to use, regulated in here in the United States. And I don't have concrete data, but from what I've heard, we are getting our butts pasted by the Chinese right now. And so we are behind. We do have nuclear power plants that are open, but those are old power plants. And it's been quite difficult to implement new nuclear power uh, facilities here in the United States. I am not a nuclear physicist or a nuclear engineer, but I find this topic nonetheless extremely interesting, especially when it comes to the intersection or implementation of AI and nuclear power. So let's go to the article here by Bella Adretti, Jacob Ward, and Emily Pendis. This is from March 7th, so this is a little older article. I generally try to keep the articles fairly recent, if not in the past few days, but sometimes I'll read older articles. Article begins here. Tech firms and Silicon Valley billionaires have been pouring money into nuclear energy for years, pitching the sustainable power source as crucial to the green transition, which I agree. I agree. It is the most important technologies of the green technologies, if that's what you want to call the green, the set of green technologies. So that'd be solar, wind, and nuclear power. Uh, Now they have another incentive to promote it: artificial intelligence. Yes, precisely. Artificial intelligence is going to take a lot of energy, more than people realize, or more than the general populace understands. We're going, not only is AI going to be a technological revolution, but we're going to be going through an energy revolution as well. We're going to need to if we want AI. There's just no way around it. Um, Article continues here. While generative AI has grown at lightning speed, nuclear power projects are heavily regulated, as I just said, and usually advance at a plodding pace, a snail's pace. I would say a snail's pace, probably slower than a snail's pace. If this were a tortoise and hare race, the tortoise would not win. That's how slow we're going. Even if the hare slept for 1,000 years, the hare would still win. Article continues here. That's raising questions about whether advances in nuclear energy can cut emissions as swiftly as energy guzzling AI and other fast growing technologies are adding to them. So, yeah, if we don't use nuclear energy, we're going to have to use gas and oil to fuel AI. Yeah, we're going to need a lot of that. We're going to need a lot of that. Uh, which I'm positive the Standard Oil companies, which I talked about in the previous episode, so the John D. Rockefeller companies, the 70 companies the 70 companies that were broken into from Standard Oil from the late 19th century, and so that'd be ExxonMobil, Chevron. I can't remember the name of the other ones, but anyway, they're more than happy. They'll be more than happy to provide plenty of fossil fuels and gas for AI. Uh, which I don't have a problem with that, but excuse me, I imagine a lot of people will. Quote here: if you were to integrate large language models, GPT style models, into search engines, it's going to cost 5 times as much environmentally as standard search, said Sarah Myers West, managing director of the AI Now Institute, a research group focused on the social impacts of AI. I would be nice to see what numbers those are. What's the current, and then what's going to be the 5 times? Well, if you knew what the current was, um, you could obviously calculate what 5 times that's going to be. But be nice if they added that context in these articles. Anyway, article continues here. At current growth rates, some new AI servers could soon gobble up more than 85 terawatt hours of electricity each year. Researchers have estimated more than small nations' annual energy consumption. Um, just as an aside, that shouldn't be a comma, that should be a semicolon. That would be nice. Spell check, please. Let's see here. Article quotes: I want to see innovation in this country, Myers West said. I just want the scope of innovation to be determined beyond incentive structures of these giant companies. Grab some coffee. Well, Myers West, incentives and trade offs is what drives business models. And that's how the real world works. The alternative is an economy that can't function because you are ignoring human nature. Um, so, anyway, that's my thought on that. Article continues here. Oklo is one of the nuclear startups backed by Sam Altman, the CEO of OpenAI, who has described AI and cheap green energy as mutually reinforcing essentials to achieving a future marked by abundance. So, this is where Sam and I agree. AI is going to create more abundance than we currently have. Uh, as I've stated in previous episodes, um, as we go through each technological iteration, each technological revolution, uh, the market diversifies. Division of labor occurs, as what um, Adam Smith talks about in Wealth of Nations. In fact, he gets into it pretty early, I believe, in the first chapter of the book, where he explains the division of labor. Uh, before the Industrial Revolution, everyone was a farmer. The vast majority of people were farmers. Now, only 4%, probably less than that, of the world's population are farmers. And people now have a lot different jobs. They have specializations of the job they work in It could be in HR has specializations, sales has specializations, marketing has specializations, engineering has specializations, research and development has specializations, production has specializations, right? Those jobs previously did not exist. Yeah, all those jobs did not exist before the Industrial Revolution, certainly. And that is a testament to the technological iterations or innovations or revolutions, right? All those people are now employed that would not have been employed before. By the way, Smith talks about that in The Wealth of Nations. And so, yeah, more abundance, people have jobs, people have money. Obviously, not everyone has money, but most people do. And so he and I agree on that. I think where we would disagree is at this moment in time, I would say, no, we need to increase fossil fuels in accordance with green energy. You need to go pedal to the metal as far as energies are concerned regarding AI until we can deregulate the market, deregulate the nuclear energy industry. And I know a lot of people in government aren't going to want to do that because they make money from it. But that's the trade off. That's their incentive, and that's the trade off. The trade off is we're not going to have nice things. In order to have nice things or nicer things, we're going to need more energy. And nuclear power, as of right now, is the way to go. There's no way around it. If we want abundance, it's what we're going to have to do. So I guess we agree on that point. Sam and I. Article continues here with the quote: fundamentally, today in the world, the two limiting commodities you see everywhere are intelligence, which we're trying to work on with AI, and energy. He told CNBC in 2021 after investing $375 million in Helion Energy, a nuclear fission startup that Altman chairs. Microsoft last year agreed to buy power from Helion starting in 2028. Oklo, which Altman also chairs, is focused on the opposite reaction, fission, which generates energy by splitting an atom. Fusion does so by merging atomic nuclei. So obviously there's Sam is working on OpenAI, but then in addition to that and other companies, he's working on investments in energy, which I think that's a good way to go. Excuse me for a second. Obviously, I agree with that. Article continues here. Representatives for Altman, through his special acquisition company, Alt-C, didn't respond to a request for comment. That's interesting. Let's grab some coffee. By the way, that's going to, if you have, this is for, say, for example, the nuclear industry is deregulated. Well, now that opens the door for employment. In order to build these facilities, we're going to need more engineers. And by the way, not just engineers. So again, these jobs are going to come with technical and non-technical opportunities. You're going to need support. You're going to need an admin. You're going to need accounting. You're going to need marketing. Some people might disagree with that, but these are what I would call supportive opportunities, supportive staff, support inside technical companies. Right? So you're going to have your engineers, you're going to have your engineering techs. You're probably going to have data science. Well, matter of fact, you should have data science teams. You're going to have IT teams. Again, there's going to be a lot of people going to be employed in these facilities. But in order to build these facilities, you're going to need engineers who understand structural engineering, civil engineering, and manufacturing engineering. So you're going to need more engineers, not less, more. You're going to need a lot more talent, intellectual talent. And right now, the cities, the American cities specifically, and their policies do not give me confidence uh, in educating young American men and women uh, and motivating them to get into engineering. Matter of fact, as I've stated in previous episodes, they've done the opposite. In San Francisco, they're literally voting on. I can't. Whenever I hear it, I can't stop laughing. It's dark, but it's still funny. Which is they're literally voting on if they should teach their kids algebra. It's one of the dumbest things I've ever seen in my entire life. And I've seen some dumb things, but that's up there in the top five at least. And of course, if you want to teach and nurture young American students to go into structural, civil, or manufacturing engineering, they gotta take algebra first. You got to take it first. Sorry, you can't avoid math. You need math. We all use it as engineers in industry. We all use it to different degrees, and it's extremely useful. Uh, Matter of fact, it'd be useful for everyone. Don't get me started on that. Anyway, let's continue here with the article. I got off tangent a little bit. Article continues in rural southeastern Idaho. Oklo is working to build a small scale nuclear powerhouse that could fuel data centers like the ones OpenAI and its competitors need. Right. So I expect Amazon to Google to push nuclear reactors in the future as well. They're going to need it. So this is where a lot of people don't like lobbying in Washington, but I think this is where lobbying is going to become advantageous for us. And that is, these large companies obviously have a lot of lobbying power, and they're going to need energy. So I expect over the next few years, sentiments, and by that, policymakers who get their little cutout, lobbying money from these lobbyists. These lobbyists, particularly representing Google, Amazon, and the large companies, they're going to be changing their tune on nuclear power. And you'll see, and I believe sentiment's already been changing on that as well, as far as this energy source. So I expect that forthcoming. So things might not be as dire as maybe one would expect. Uh, so the article continues here, but the company also wants to supply mixed use communities and industrial facilities. That's why I just talked about industrial facilities. Again, you're going to need engineers for that. And is already contracted to build 2 commercial plants in southern Ohio. Okay, so we see activities starting in Ohio and Idaho already. And of course, when you're a company and you're looking for talent, your talent is going to be approximate to your location. You'll get some people to come from out of town, but most of your employees are going to come from the local communities. And so you're going to need to support that innovation. You're going to need good schools. You're going to need schools that emphasize not just colleges and universities, but public school institutions are going to have to emphasize a different subject matter than what they've been doing already. This is going to require a change in what they teach. And they're going to have to emphasize math, science, and engineering. I would argue throwing in some economics in there would be good as well, and not socialist economics. Stuff doesn't work. Feel free to complain down below in the comment section if you still believe in Santa Claus and that stuff. Uh, this is interesting. Nuclear plant Oklo wants to build in Idaho will look more like a sleek ski chalet than a Cold War era versions of their iconic curved towers. Oh, that's an interesting design. That'd be kind of cool, actually. Yeah, why not? But, the design. It doesn't matter what it looks like on the inside; it just matters what the inside is doing. But you know, if you want it to reflect um, the locale, yeah, design the outside however you want. It's not unreasonable. The outside building of a nuclear power plant in New Mexico would definitely look different than it does in Idaho. That's fine. Go for it. Article continues here. As the United States moves toward wide scale electric vehicle adoption and decarbonization, the amount of energy we're going to need to do that is huge. Yes, we are. Yeah, especially with electric vehicles. Again, if you want nice or nicer things, you're going to need a lot of power. And if people want electric vehicles, they're going to need a lot of power. Said Oklo CEO and co founder Jacob DeWitt. Uh, a quote here. Also, heating and cooking. If we want to electrify those processes, you're going to need even more. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. I'm going to grab some coffee. Oklo has found getting regulations on board harder than finding potential customers. I imagine so. Because the regulations before was, you know, nuclear power bad. I mean, that was the argument. Nuclear power bad. Nuclear power is different from a weapon. I mean, I know that's should be obvious, right? That should be obvious, but it's ridiculous sometimes. All right, so article continues here. In 2022, the Federal Nuclear Regulatory Commission, which oversees commercial nuclear power plants and materials, denied the company's application for the design of its Idaho Aurora powerhouse, saying it hadn't provided enough safety information. In October, the Air Force rescinded its intent to award a contract for a micro reactor pilot program to power a base in Alaska. This is dumb. This is really dumb. Um, I mean, it's just dumb policy. It's really dumb policy. Smart policy would say, okay, we're going to provide you with a path forward, but during that process, we want you to provide us with a bit more safety information, right? Work with these companies. Bureaucrats are going to destroy this country. That's probably what's going to happen. I don't think that's going to happen because again, um, the in, you know, energy is a national defense issue as well. If you don't have energy in a strong market, you don't have strong military. The countries that utilize capitalism don't lose. They generally always win. Now, I'm convinced wars are lost by bureaucrats, but if you have, I mean, that's just that bureaucrat. All I mean is a large organization that abides by the Dilbert principle. If you've read that book, again, here's another book recommendation for you. Right, that's all this is. But that it's that force versus the force of reality, and the force of reality generally wins. Right, it generally wins. It might be a bit painful at first, but generally it wins. Uh, Quote here from the article: "We've got new physics." Yes, that's true. You have to use new models. You have to do all sorts of stuff that's different than what they're used to. DeWitt said of the NRC. Oklo is now working to satisfy regulators, he said, acknowledging agency officials must do their independent job of ensuring this meets adequate safety requirements. Okay, I don't have a problem with safety requirements. But at some point you're gonna have to make a choice. Do you want nice things? Do you want people to eat and have energy? Or do you want safety? Now, I don't believe those two things are mutually exclusive, but at some point they're going to be. They're going to collide if you're this stringent. And it sounds like they're being stringent. Maybe it's the article, maybe it's the the people writing this article don't quite understand what the dynamics are. I'm assuming they do. I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt. But at some point, these things collide. Another, couple. Let me give you an example of policy colliding. Let's say you're an environment. I was going to say environmentalist. Let's say you're a leftist, and you want to save the rainforest. Although that would be more of an environmentalist thing, but a lot of them are leftists. Okay, fine. But then you want renewable energies. You want solar fields. At some point, you're going to have to make a choice. Do you want the forest or do you want the solar field? At some point, those two ideas are going to collide. You're going to have to make a choice. That's a trade off. Again, incentives and trade offs. So let's continue here. Oklo's proposed 13,000 square foot Aurora powerhouse featuring a 15 megawatt fission reactor is smaller than earlier plants and looks more like a sleek ski chalet. We saw a picture of that than the Cold War era ones with their iconic curved towers. The plant set to be built at the Idaho National Laboratory, a research facility where Oklo has been given an energy department grant to test recycling nuclear waste into new fuel. DeWitt says the design is safer too, citing that the use of liquid metal as a coolant rather than water. That's interesting. We'll grab some coffee. The nuclear power industry hasn't meaningfully expanded its share of the U.S. energy mix for decades. Yeah, it hasn't. Because up until recently, people were scared of it, but they were scared because they didn't understand it. They when they hear nuclear power, all they hear is bombs being dropped and uh, facilities melting down. That's what they. That's what they. That's why they're scared. Article continues here. It has chugged along despite popular opposition fueled by infrequent but devastating accidents like those in Chernobyl. I just mentioned that, Chernobyl, Ukraine, in 1986, and in Fukushima, Japan, in 2011. That was by the tsunami. I believe it's earthquake followed by tsunami. Even the newest nuclear power plants still generate waste that can remain dangerously radioactive for centuries, raising the need for effective disposal and recycling efforts like the one in Oklo is testing. Yeah. That's now an engineering problem, and they're trying to solve that, which I've heard from, I believe, to be credible sources that they have solved that problem. They actually reuse the waste now. They don't have to bury it, they reuse it. Article continues here, but as the climate crisis accelerates, your opinion, most Americans now support expanding nuclear energy, 57% up from 43% in 2020. That's good. A Pew Research survey found last year. Nuclear power currently makes up only 19% of the nation's overall energy generation. That's a crime, in my opinion. With 93 commercial reactors operating today, down from a peak of 112 in 1990. I didn't even know there were 93, to be honest. I didn't even know there were 93. Maybe there were like 2. But yeah, it's interesting. 93 and down from 112. I think the idea now is the nuclear reactors would be smaller, more modular, so you could build more. And that's what I mean by you're going to need more structural, civil, and manufacturing engineers. You're going to need to build those things, and it's not going to be easy to build those things. It's going to take some time. Again, none of this is easy. This is hard stuff. And it takes a lot of people, a lot of good planning. Article continues here. By one estimate, up to 800 gigawatts of new nuclear power will be needed by 2050 to meet current green energy targets. Yes, we're going to need a lot of energy to meet the needs of unicorns in fantasy land by some policymakers who don't understand science and engineering. Yes, that is true. If you want this fantasy land of yours, you're going to need a lot more energy. The ideas are nice, but you have to be able to implement it. It's not just, oh, we want to get rid of fossil fuels. How are you going to do it? We get rid of fossil fuels first and then do all the other stuff? Throw everyone back into poverty? Is that your plan? Uh, Article continues here, but as tech firms sprint towards AI, many data centers are already struggling to add capacity fast enough to remain affordable, with data center rents jumping nearly 16% between 2022 and last year alone. Yes. Yeah, we haven't even covered data centers yet. And I know I've said multiple times now I was going to do an article on data centers, and I will. It's probably going to be a little bit longer than my usual videos. Let's see here. The article continues. The demand crunch is one reason major industry players have been ramping up their nuclear investments. Yeah. Again, everyone's going to start pushing towards it, and obviously they already are, but it's going to become one of those situations where policymakers, politicians, governments are just going to have to change their tune, and change their marketing on this topic. It's just going to have to happen. There's no way around it. Let's see here. Article continues. Microsoft signed a deal last summer with Constellation, a top nuclear power plant operator, to add nuclear generated electricity to its Virginia data centers. The year before, Google took part in a $250 million fundraising round for the fusion startup TAE Technologies. And in late 2021, Amazon founder Jeff Bezos and other investors raised over $130 million for Canadian nuclear company General Fusion. Right. So, yeah, Microsoft would be very interested in this because of their not just AI interest, but their data center interest, supporting their cloud technologies. I imagine Amazon AWS will take interest in this. Google. So there's, again, all these large companies are going to have to start pushing towards nuclear power if they want to increase their revenues. Article continues here. For tech firms, it makes sense to tap directly into nuclear plants, instead of sourcing electricity from the grid, said Ross Maskin-Bridger, a senior director at the Nuclear Threat Initiative, a nonprofit group focused on reducing nuclear and biological risks. In addition to being clean, he noted many recent nuclear projects are also compact. You can fit a lot more energy per acre in nuclear energy than you can with any other technology. He said, yeah, that's correct. Yeah, it's just a lot more efficient. If you want more solar energy, you're going to need a lot larger fields. You need more of it, and that's going to take over the precious forest and land and things that people want to have. You're going to have to make a choice. So at some point, people are just going to say, yeah, I mean, if you want to, here's one. If you want to save the rainforest, go nuclear. And that's it right there. Article continues here. Beyond Silicon Valley, big investment firms are actually starting to believe that this is going to take off, said Ian Paul, a research scientist at Northeastern University who studies AI. People have started to believe that these kinds of energies are going to fuel our population, end quote. Grab some coffee. Yes. Yeah, it's going to have to. And I've said that a few times now. Article continues here, but some experts warn that efforts to expand nuclear power shouldn't be rushed. no matter how fast demand is growing. No, you're going to have to. No, you can't. You can't go snail's pace on this. You're gonna. We're gonna make some mistakes. That's just the way it's going to be. This can't be a perfect. Let's build that. This person doesn't understand how the world works, how engineering works, how planning and development works. Some of it's going to be messy. You just have to keep pushing through it. I mean, that's the bottom line. If you want to get it done. Uh, article, and here's a quote. We need nuclear power to get a low carbon future, said Ahmed Abdullah, assistant mechanical and aerospace engineering professor at Carleton University. There it is right there. That's it. That's coming from the engineer. But for engineering projects that have historically taken decades, the regulatory process needs to be a methodical one. He said, there's a chance to make serious mistakes if we sprint to the goal. Now, it sounds like an engineer. I agree with him. We need nuclear power to get a low carbon future, as he says. But this also sounds like somebody who doesn't work in industry. He's a professor, which is fine. But academia is very different from industry. There are going to be mistakes made. You can count on it. But again, do you want to throw everyone into poverty or do you want to push forward? It's not, there's no perfect system here. It's not going to be perfect. It's going to be a little muddy. But that's how the real world is. And here's the thing. There's trade-offs. These are the trade-offs. And here it just gets into who the writers are. So yeah, that's that article. And then I'll go ahead and I'll end this with my final three thoughts into this. First, in the previous episode of my 3 points, final points, I was thinking maybe my final three thoughts regarding this article and things in general. So first thought, if we want to continue to have nice things, and I said this in the article earlier, or nicer things, we are going to need nuclear energy. We're just going to need it. If not, the alternative is you just pump a lot more fossil fuels, and you start taking away a lot more land with solar fields. And I'm not opposed to solar fields. I'm just saying that's the trade-off. Thought 2. Nuclear energy is the quickest and most efficient path to sustainability and growth. If you've noticed, the people use sustainability, that term, they never use growth. That's what it kind of that popped into my head as I was writing this. So if you want growth, you're going to need nuclear energy. And that's what everyone is saying. Sam Altman's saying that. Jeff Bezos is saying that with his money. Right? Of influential people now, smart people are saying that's the path forward, which I agree. And to continue this second thought, not only does AI require nuclear energy, but so do homes, right? You're not going to have a nuclear power plant hooked up to a home, but you're going to have an infrastructure, an infrastructure system like we currently have now, where electricity is going to be generated from these plants, and that's going to have to get to a home. That's what's going to power homes, right? So your air conditioner, heater, things like that. So you can stay online. Of course, vehicles, if you want to have electric vehicles, those have to be powered somehow and recharged. How are you going to do that? Nuclear energy. And of course, other technologies. Because the electricity right now is being generated by fossil fuels mostly. And if you want to transition that, well, you're going to need nuclear power. Thought 3. We're going to need more, not less. We're going to need more, not less, nuclear physicists and nuclear energy engineers. Right? So research is going to have to continue via physicists. Of course, physicists will work in industry as well. And you're going to need your engineers for your everyday work at the facilities, and technicians too. Technicians, just like you would find in any other company. Now, I'm not a nuclear engineer, But I suspect that they have their own ways of they have their own daily business, their own responsibilities, and things they need to do. Uh, because right now, what did it say was 92 facilities, and there were 112. And so if they're going to build more, that means they're going to have to need more employees, right? More people to run those facilities, right? Uh, and it's not just going to be them. We're also going to need more engineers in general. For example, planning, designing, and construction of nuclear power plants will require knowledge by structural, civil, and manufacturing engineers, which is what I've already talked about. We're going to need more of those people. So we're going to have to improve our educational system to reflect those needs in the marketplace. The traditional educational system is no longer, um, what's the word I'm looking for? It's no longer supportive or yeah, maybe supportive. I'm thinking of a different word right now. It, it, it is no longer supportive of our current market needs, right? It's an educational system for the 20th century. It's not an educational system for the 21st century. Yeah, let me put it that way. Right. Matter of fact, it's an educational system from a couple hundred years ago. Right. It really hasn't changed much. The bureaucracy has grown within the public educational system, but has the educational system itself has improved or innovated based off of market needs. A question to ask yourself is, we need all these computer scientists and software engineers. That's my argument, for example. But how many public schools teach computer science and software engineering? Uh, um, how many of those schools actually um, provide those courses or those classes so students can learn those things? You're going to find computer science courses in inner city Chicago. Are you going to find computer science courses for high school students in Minneapolis? Are you going to find or see software engineering? Excuse me. Are you going to find software engineering courses for um, students in Los Angeles? The answer is probably no, right? I'm sure somewhere you'll find those classes, and those are the skill sets students are going to need. By the way, it's not just engineering. You're going to need the trades, right? This is going to increase the market for a lot of different types of jobs, these facilities. So this is really just a win-win for everyone. Is it going to be perfect? No. Are there going to be mistakes? Yes. But will it increase abundance? Yes. Will it make our lives better? Yes. And to me, that's worth the trade-off. So anyway, I'm gonna end it here. I want to say thank you again for all of the comments. There haven't been a lot, but I do appreciate those comments. I appreciate the views, and I really do enjoy interacting with you. Please do like, share, and subscribe because it does feed the AI algorithm. And I'm going to do something a little different today. I'm going to take you out with the metal version. If I can find my mouse again. And I will see you in the next episode. Bye for now.